Police have located a car submerged in floodwaters at North Lismore that is believed to be that of Alina Brakel, 55, who was reported missing earlier this week. Key points: evacuation orders remain in place for much of the northern rivers and mid-north coast regions. Evacuation orders remain in place for much of the northern rivers and mid-north coast regions. Authorities say holiday bookings have led to the decision to house disaster-affected residents in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast. Authorities say holiday bookings have led to the decision to house disaster-affected residents in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast. The water is slowly receding in parts of the state's north. The body of a woman was found late yesterday, but has not been formally identified. The aged care nurse from Nowra was reportedly trapped in her Holden captiva during flooding on Tuesday night near Wairala Road at Monaltree, 5 kilometres south of Lismore. Police say she left the Tullera area, 10 kilometres north of Lismore, earlier that day, but failed to arrive at her destination. A member of the public alerted police after finding the body of a woman in floodwaters near the intersection of Alexandra Parade and Tweed Street, North Lismore, shortly before 7 p.m. yesterday. An investigation into the woman's is underway, and a report will be prepared for the coroner. Ms. Brakel was reported missing on Tuesday. Conditions ease, warnings remain. Residents are starting to assess the damage caused by the second major flood event to devastate the region in weeks, as conditions ease in northern NSW. But severe weather warnings for damaging winds, abnormally high tides and dangerous surf have been issued for much of the state's coastline. Major flooding is still occurring along the Richmond River at Karaki, Bungawalbin and Woodburn. The Richmond River peaked at Karaki on Thursday morning at 6.81 metres and is falling slowly. The flood peak is expected to hit Woodburn mid-morning today. At Woodburn, the river is expected to peak near 4.6 m this morning. The Wilsons River at Lismore is continuing to drop, but moderate flooding is still occurring. Moderate flooding is occurring along the Clarence River at Grafton, Ulmarra and Maclean, but the peak has passed. Says crews working in Brunswick Street, Lismore. The city remains inundated with floodwaters, which are slowly receding. Says issues wrong safe return information. The SES says an administrative error led to safe returns being wrongly issued for communities along the Richmond River yesterday afternoon. Safe returns were announced around 4 p.m. for Woodburn, Bungawalbin and Broadwater. 90 minutes later, the SES reissued evacuation orders. Says Incident Controller Barry Griffiths said it was a regrettable situation. There was some local knowledge that was unfortunately overlooked, and once we identified that safe to return error, we quickly established the evacuation order again, he said. We're using a lot of people unfamiliar with the area, and I'm one of them. And that is basically where it broke down, he said. The SES said it had established a procedure to ensure the issue did not occur again. Easter bookings mean residents have to relocate. Several residents evacuated from their flood-affected homes are now in emergency accommodation and will be relocated to hotels in Brisbane and the Gold Coast due to local facilities being booked out for Easter. About 1,500 people in the Northern Rivers are staying in emergency accommodation, including hotels, recreation parks and motorhomes. The Department of Communities and Justice said many of the hotel rooms were booked months in advance for the Easter holiday. Deputy Secretary Paul Vevers said there was no choice but to look further afield. I am just desperately sorry that people have to move, but we can't find accommodation closer, he said. I've got a whole team of people contacting hotels every day to find out if they are getting any cancellations so that we can book people in. Mr. Vevers said assisting residents was the priority, but holiday trade was important too. It helps stimulate the economy, he said. But what it does mean is that quite a lot of rooms that we have been using up to now won't be available over the Easter and school holiday period. For those needing accommodation in Brisbane, transport is being provided and $150 fuel vouchers are available for those who use their own vehicles. Evacuation orders are still in place across the northern rivers and the mid-north coast. They remain current for low-lying areas of Karaki, Lismore CBD, Lismore Basin, parts of North, South and East Lismore, Gerrards Hill, New Italy, Broadwater, Wardell, Cabbage Tree Island, Bungawalbin, Woodburn, Swan Bay and Bungawalbin. Orders are also in place for low-lying areas in East Bellingham and parts of North Bellingham, Southgate and Aluka, as well as low-lying properties on the Lower Macleay. M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. Watch 11 seconds 11s Byron Bay flooded after intense rainfall. Airport remains closed. Passenger services at the Alina Byron Airport will not resume until this weekend at the earliest. Flights were suspended on Wednesday morning when floodwaters inundated the runway and surrounding areas. The airport runway was inundated following the peak of rainfall overnight on Tuesday. Engineers assessed the site for any damage on Thursday. Airport manager Julie Stewart says there will be a gradual return of lighter aircraft this weekend and heavier aircraft next week. We'll actually have the prop aircraft, so operators such as Rex and Fly Pelican and the Qantas-8s will be retuning over this weekend, she said. Then the Jetstar, Virgin and Qantas jets will return on Monday, all being well. Local news direct ABC North Coast will deliver a wrap of the week's news, stories and photos every Friday. To stay connected. Loading.